morning, YouTube. How y'all doing? I want you to watch the images here and listen to the voice that's going to speak to you in the second part. And I want you to use your own imagination, your own brain, and think about 9/11 and where most of us began with this journey. And see what you think with the hologram that you see in the background. Watch it closely because it's very ingenious. Now, can it be done at other times? I don't know. But it's just a point that I'm bringing to your attention. And I want you to watch it to see exactly what could be going on with you, our country, and our world. So much love to y'all. Y'all have a great day now here.
Over a study of the signed treaties and charters between Britain and the United States exposes the shocking truth: the United States has always been, and still is, a British Crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the first charter averaging in 1606. Crown colony King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the first charter averaging in 1606. The charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens, that England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America stolen from the Indian after America declared its independence from Great Britain. The Treaty of 1783 with her, the treaty specifically identifies, became available in as the print of the United States and contradicts the belief that America won the war independent. Although King George III of England gave up most of his claims over his American colonies, he kept his right to continue receiving payment for his business venture colonizing America. If America had really won the War of Independence, they would never have agreed to pay debts in reparation to the cave diving on when Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. The United States President was made subservient to the King of England. The 13th Amendment is called the Title of Nobility Amendment, and forbids the United States presidents and their officials from using royal titles like king or prince or baron for some mysterious reason. The 13th Amendment, which was ratified in 1810, no longer appears on current copy. That the Constitution, America's blood-soaked war of independence against the British, bankrupted America and turned its citizens and the permanent that flavored the king in the War of 1812. The British torched and burned to the ground the White House at all the United States government buildings, and destroyed ratification records at the United States Constitution. 1 century later, a corrupt United States Congress committed the biggest step in world history. They passed Paul Warburg Federal Reserve Act in 1913, pending over America's gold and silver reserves and total control America's economy to the Rothschild banksters. Most Americans still believe that the better Federal Reserve is the government. It is not. The bet is a privately owned banking system has majority Class A shareholders. Other Rothschild Warburgs coming in low: J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Israel. See the Lehman Brothers. This private banking cartel is the Fed and is never audited and never pays taxes. They print and design America's money, which displays their symbol, them an Egyptian pyramid, and their phone to call the night, and the words "In God We Trust." Who exactly is the God they trust? They also collect the American taxpayers' money through the IRS, then loan it back again with interest to pay for roads, bridges, and other public works on American presidents are hand-picked up, financed by the special interest power group like George W. Bush, John Forbes Kerry, whose initials are JFK, as a member Yale University Skull and Bones brother Heather forms part of John Kerry. Name identifies with defendant from Captain Robert Bennett, for who was a drug runner for the Rothschilds' opium drug trade with China in the 1800s. Most the United States citizens believe that the United States is the country, and that the president is the most powerful man on earth. The United States is not a country, it is the corporation, and the president is president of the corporation, the United States. He and his elected officials work for the corporation, not for the American people, since the United States is a corporation. Who owns the corporation? And the United States, like Canada and Australia, whose leaders are prime ministers of the Queen, and whose land is called Crown Land. The United States is just another crown colony.